I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room.
What's going on, everybody? Jacob Courtwright here with my Saturday morning pick'ems with the boys. And today, instead of being with the boys, I am going against you, the fan. That is right, you, the fan, and you, the odds maker. What I have done is I have taken the odds from Vegas and I've taken the odds from fan voting, and I put those together, and I'm going against the both of you. 1 versus 2. Who is going to come out on top? That is the big question. Now, we're going to start right off the bat with number 4 Ohio State versus Michigan State. Now, there is no doubt in my mind that Ohio State is sweating bullets as they have had several players not only come down with COVID, but already ruled out for this Saturday's matchup against the upset machine in Michigan State. One of those key players, Justin Fields, is in question for the game today. Will Justin Fields play? Will they have their starting running back Teague? Will they have 2 of their starting defensive linemen? Will they have their 2-star wide receivers? We don't know. That is why this game is very intriguing to a lot of the odds makers out there. When I looked at the odds makers' predictions and when I looked at the people's predictions, it was a lot closer than I thought it would be, especially with all those question marks, because Ohio State is widely known as the much better organization across the board. So you would assume that if Ohio State even has a few injuries, even though they are to their better players, that they would still be a heavy favorite. Wrong. This one is close. Everybody still has Ohio State winning, and here's the deal. I can't go against them. When you have a great backup running back like Sermon, the transfer from Oklahoma, when you have Lombardi for Michigan State, who has just played so inconsistent across the board, you don't know what you're going to get. You've got to go in favor of Ohio State, and that is what I'm going to do. I'm sticking with the people in Vegas. I'm going 28-14. I do believe that Justin Fields plays in this game, and I just don't see enough consistency from Lombardi and Michigan State to really put up enough points to make a difference against Ohio State. So I'm going with you, the people, and the odds makers for game number 1. Now let's go to game number 2. Texas A&M versus Auburn. Number 5, Texas A&M versus Auburn. Now, Bo Nix must shine today. Bo Nix has been awful on the road, but he has been a lot better at home, and good thing for them. This is a home game for Bo Nix and that offense that has just been sporadic, to say the least. Now, they are missing a couple offensive linemen. They have 2 injuries on the offensive line, so they have been shifting players around all week. They have even practiced 2 defensive linemen to the offensive line side of the football this week due to a shortage of the offensive line. So can this offensive line step up and protect Bo Nix? Can Bo Nix make plays with his legs, take care of the football, make the throws when he needs to make the throws? He has playmakers. Can he give them the ball? And can their running back, Tank Bigsby, be an impact player? Now, we know against Tennessee, he hurt his hip. We saw that come to fruition, against Alabama last week, as he could simply not get anything going. Is this the week that they said he is healthy? Is this the week that we see him start running again for 130 yards and a touchdown? That is another big question mark for this Auburn team. Now, another big question mark for Texas A&M. Although they've had a good year thus far, can Kellen Mond continue to play at a high level? We saw him falter last week, even though they came out with the win. Kellen Mond did not have a good football day. Now, Kellen Mond goes how this entire offense goes. If Kellen Mond is having a great day, this offense tends to be somewhere around the 340 to 400 yard range. If Kellen Mond is having a bad day, this offense goes down worse than the Titanic when it hits the iceberg. They go from hot to cold more than any team in all of college football, simply based on how their quarterback plays. The good thing for them, C.J. Spiller. They have one of the best running backs in all of college football, over 777 yards this far in the season, 6 touchdowns, and their offensive line is one of the best in the SEC, only allowing 3 sacks all year in the SEC. That is a major accomplishment. They also are dealing with some injury issues as well on the offensive line, though. Those issues might affect today's game, and I am actually going to go against the odds makers and the Vegas pickers in this one. I've got to go Auburn here. Here's the deal. Auburn always has that staple game where they come out and beat a team that they shouldn't. Usually it's against Alabama, and all the Alabama fans get really upset. But today, it's going to be against Texas A&M, as Auburn has already fallen to Alabama. They've got to do it to somebody. Texas A&M feels the wrath today. I'm going to go Auburn 24-21 in a very fun game. Might be the game of the day besides our game of the day, no pun intended, in Coastal Carolina and BYU, which we will get to in just a moment. Going on, number 15, Oklahoma State versus TCU. Now, Justin, who usually is on this program, is a massive TCU fan, and he gave me a lot of good points as to why TCU could and should win this game. But Oklahoma State is dealing with a lot of problems, so I kind of am leaning towards TCU anyways. No Chuba Hubbard? No problem. We saw the backup Jackson go for 264 yards in a win last week against Texas Tech for Oklahoma State. What's been the problem? Passing and defense. They have not been able to pass the ball consistently for Oklahoma State, leaving them a one-dimensional pony. They are the only pony in the show that does the same trick every single week and expects a different result. Their defensive backs have been bad as well, giving up over 233 yards throughout the air in the last couple weeks to their opponents. Although they have come out with some wins in those games, they are going to have real problems because TCU has a quarterback that can get it done. Max Duggan, the dual threat nightmare, has thrown not only 7 touchdowns to 7 different players, but has rushed for over 7 different scores as well. He is a true dual threat nightmare who has no favoritism when it comes to the offensive side of the football. He picks the best play and makes the best play, and that is what makes him such a dangerous quarterback, and that is what makes this game such an interesting matchup. This game is solely based on how Max Duggan can conduct the offense. If he can stay efficient like we have seen the last couple of weeks, if he can just hit the open man like we have seen the last couple of weeks, I think you're going to see a TCU victory here today. I think it's close, but I do believe TCU pulls this one out. Their first win against a top 25 opponent this year with a 34-31 victory for TCU. Once again, I'm going against the fans and going against the Vegas odd makers here. I just believe Max Duggan is too much to handle for this Oklahoma State defense that has shown no consistency across the board. Moving on. And guys, you should be so proud because we've got touch screens now. We're starting to get like Iron Man. So if you see me looking off to the side, I'm doing my touch screen. We're getting all fancy around here, and I'm still getting used to it. But number 12, Indiana versus number 18, Wisconsin. The biggest not only problem for Indiana, but one of the worst stories that we've heard the last couple of weeks. No Penix Jr. Penix Jr. is out the rest of the year with a severe injury. Penix Jr. has not only been dynamic for this Indiana offense, but he has been what this Indiana offense has become, which is a dual threat quarterback that can throw dimes when he needs to. And that is a big hit for this Indiana offense. They still have some pretty good players on the offensive side of the football, though. You have Scott III. You have Freifogel, who will be a top wide receiver taken in this upcoming draft. You have Folier, another great wide receiver. Can they help out their new QB Tuttle? That is the big question. What Tuttle brings is a pocket passer presence. He is not somebody that is going to get out of the way and make plays like Penix Jr. So can he make a few plays with his legs to keep this Indiana offense balanced and this Indiana run game balanced? That is the big question. Because they are going up against a Wisconsin team that is allowing 67 yards a game on the ground. That is mind-blowing to say the least. That is second in all of college football. So when you have a team that likes to have a running quarterback, that likes to get outside the pocket, now is down to a pocket passing quarterback, and they're going up against one of the best rushing teams in all of Wisconsin, this basically means you're going to have to rely on the arm of Tuttle to win this football game for Indiana. I just believe that they are going to be a little bit too much for Indiana to handle. Mertz is destined to have a bounce-back game. We saw him have a great opening week. We saw him have an atrocious game against Northwestern, throwing 3 interceptions, but I don't believe that that's going to stay. I fully believe that Mertz not only gets back on track, but that this Wisconsin team gets right back in the conversation to win the Big Ten this year and to play Ohio State in that championship. Ohio State should fear, because I think this Wisconsin team, if they could get it together, has a big chance of going pretty far and has a big chance of knocking off Ohio State when they play each other. But I'm going to go here 28-17 Wisconsin with the win. I just believe Indiana has too many new pieces for me to really put all my chips to the table for them, although I would love to because I'm a big Indiana fan. The underdog that has shut a lot of people up, that has shut me up. Indiana, we love you, but we're so sorry that Penix Jr. is gone, and I'm sorry that you're going to have to take a big loss today to Wisconsin. Now, a game that not a lot of people thought we would ever talk about, a game I never thought I would ever talk about, two teams that most people didn't know existed in the country, Bowling Green versus Akron, the battle of the winless teams, and that is why I picked it. They are both 0-4, and guess what? They both, not only Bowling Green, but Akron, are giving up over 400 yards a game. So not only are you both 0-4, you both are giving up over 400 yards a game, and you both have quarterbacks in Zach Gibson and McDonald that have thrown more interceptions than touchdowns thus far this year. We saw McDonald throw 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions last week for Bowling Green, but we also saw a Bowling Green running game that finally came along. They had 118 yards on the ground on just under 20 carries, which was pretty good considering they had a couple backups thrown in there. So can Bowling Green get this ground game going and give their quarterback McDonald some time to throw the football and some consistency where he's not relied on to throw the ball 40 times a game? On the opposite side, Zach Gibson, the quarterback for Akron, has no help from his running back, as his running backs gave him 13 yards on 22 carries. Yeah, I'm not making this up, people. Akron is a bad football team. They have a horrible running game. Can Zach Gibson, who is a little bit more efficient than McDonald last week with 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but had 160 yards and a massive loss, so I guess that really doesn't matter. So it's just it's hard to really go with this game. You have 2 horrible teams, 2 horrible running back games, except for Bowling Green, who had backups apparently come in and just act like they were anybody and everybody. They balled out. I just don't know how you grade this game. So I'm going to go, the Vegas odd makers and the people have gone a very low scoring game, a very close game. I believe that both these teams give up way too many yards. Both these teams give up way too many points a game. This is going to be a shootout, to say the least. And who do I trust? I just see that Bowling Green game and that running attack that they had last week. I'm going to go Bowling Green 42-38. I just believe they make way too many plays on the ground. They hold the ball a little bit longer. They don't give Akron as many chances, and that is at the end of the day what wins this football game. So once again, I'm going against the Vegas odd makers. A lot of them have Akron as a 3-point favorite, or they have Bowling Green as a 1-point favorite. So I'm going to go Bowling Green taking this one 42-38. Now the game of the day, number 13 BYU versus number 18 Coastal Carolina. This is where College Game Day is, and this is where we will be also. Zach Wilson for BYU is a monster. He is definitely a top 5 wide receiver in this upcoming draft. He is exploding this offense this year with over 47 points a game, over 530 yards a game. He's completing over 70% of his passes. He's throwing to 2-star wide receivers, not only their tight end Rex, but their star wide receiver Dax, who has had over 40 catches already this year. So they are going bonkers on the offensive side of the football. Now, what are they going against on the defensive side of the football? Coastal Carolina is one of the best teams in all of college football, only allowing 180 yards throughout the air thus far this year, and just 8 touchdowns allowed all year with 11 interceptions. So Coastal Carolina is absolutely no pushover when it comes to the passing side of the defense. They have held their own all year and are one of the best in all of college football. With that being said, BYU has one of the better running attacks in all of college football, over 220 yards a game on average, 29 touchdowns behind Tyler and Wilson in that dual combo running back position. So can Coastal Carolina find enough ways to make this BYU team uncomfortable, turn the ball over, and perhaps get them to make a couple turnovers? That we don't know, because BYU is so good in both aspects, not only passing, but in running. Now, the Coastal Carolina offense is no pushover either. They are averaging over 38 points a game, over 450 yards a game. Their quarterback has had over 20 touchdowns and only 1 interception thus far this year. That is impressive, to say the least. He's eclipsing already almost 2,000 yards so early on in the season. So they've got a star quarterback. They've got 2 star wide receivers. Both of them have had over 20 catches apiece, and they have a Swiss Army knife in the backfield in CJ Marable. This guy has had over 870 all-purpose yards and 14 touchdowns alone. So is he going to be a big problem? Absolutely. Can BYU get enough stops? That we will see. This is going to be a fun game. This is going to be a close game. This is going to be a shootout / defensive type of game. And here's what I mean by that. You are going to get a high-scoring game. You're going to look at times like this game is just going to be opened wide open for touchdown upon touchdown. But then you're going to get some stops with that BYU and Coastal Carolina defense because they are no pushovers either. But I've got to go with BYU here. I just have seen way too much consistency. I don't know enough about Coastal Carolina to put my faith in them. I'm going BYU 30-27 in the all-out awesome showdown. The Chanticleers, as my mom had pointed out earlier in this year, have an awesome name, have great colors, are going up against the playoff hopeful BYU. All right, so this is going to be a fun game. This is going to be a great Saturday. I picked against the odds makers and the fans, I think 3 times in my entire picks. So let's see what happens. I will put up the statistics at the end of the day. Am I right? Are you guys right? Is Vegas right? Who knows? Let's find out. I want to thank you all for watching. I know this is a little bit different format, but hey, you guys mean a lot to me for joining. You guys mean a lot for all the views. If you like this, if you like the Locker Room Podcast, share with a friend. Show us some love. We can continue to grow. You can continue to grow with us. And at the end of the day, we'll all be a lot happier that we did, all right? Once again, I'm Jacob Corright. This is The Locker Room. Follow us on our social media. Have a great Saturday. Go Ducks. We here at The Locker Room thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning pick'em. If you'd like to know how to play along at home, it is simple. You will now see a slide with all of my social media. Follow me on Instagram every Saturday morning and you can vote. At the end of the college football season, I will pick a winner for a cash prize for whoever gets the most right answers. So make sure you follow my social media. That is the only way to lock in your answer. You must follow, then join along and play.